Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad we're here, but I'm sad we're here with yet concerns about the safety of U.S. Olympic athletes. Senator Blumenthal and I led the effort in regard to sexual abuse among the gymnasts. The passage of Empowering Olympic and Paralympic Amateur Athletic Act occurred in 2020. It included the commission that now reports to us. I guess I'd start with asking, are Olympic athletes safer today than they were before the enactment of 2020? Maybe that's a question for, I don't know, Ms. French?
I think there have been many measures put in place that have allowed safety to become more of a priority. I still believe there's a lot of work to do, and there's ways that we can create more culture change and more trauma-informed systemic change that will allow us to create safer environments for athletes.
I mean, that's clear. I do want to hear that it's safer today, that progress is being made. And Mr. Kelleher, perhaps you could address that in hockey or other NGB athletes.
Sure.
Things better today?
Things are better today. Recognize that. And again, as you mentioned, Olympic athletes, we're also, within all of our scope, we're talking Olympic athletes, Paralympic athletes. We're also talking grassroots sport participants. At USA Hockey, we have members as young as 5 years old that get on the ice to play our sport. So it's making sure they are in the safest environment possible. And frankly, at the highest level, there are certainly concerns to still be addressed, but the grassroots level, where some of these delays and or cases that take too long really have an impact on the local level that we feel could be addressed by the local programs or by the NGBs to help resolve some of these things that are not, federal cases to say.
You indicated that the NGBs would like to play a greater role. Ms. Colón indicates that money and volume are problems. And one of your solutions, I think, as I understood, was that you could do more of the cases that were non-sexual allegations. Do the NGBs, are they equal in that capability?
They are not.
And there would be a difference, I assume. We saw this in what we investigated a number of years ago. Would you describe that problem or challenge to me?
You are correct. I mean, we have over 50 national governing bodies, all different shapes and sizes. We have many that are under, their overall operating budget is under, I think we have 19 NGBs that operate in a budget of less than $5 million annually. So they are limited. However, some of those smaller NGBs have less participants, right? They have less people to cover. They certainly have issues, and all of us collectively, anything sexual in nature, we need to go to the center. Everybody across the board, NGBs are 100% on that. Some of these issues, however, that can come back that a larger NGB, such as USA Hockey, deals with, we have people in place. We have a volunteer structure. We have 34 affiliate organizations that have people in place dedicated to the work of fulfilling what we need to keep athletes safe at the grassroots level through SafeSport. So there are ways to do that, and hopefully that would help lessen the load and allow the center to pursue more of what we would term as egregious cases.
Ms. Colón, does that appeal to you, the ability to have the NGBs take care of cases? You have a challenge with volume. Is this a solution to that problem?
I think that could be one of the solutions to the problem, right? I agree with Ms. French that this is a systemic culture shift that is needed. And in order for abuse to really be rooted out and to be handled, it takes a really proactive approach, right? And a collaborative approach across all the organizations. I don't think that handing over all the allegations of sexual abuse misconduct for all NGBs to handle is the right move. I also don't think that all NGBs are prepared, as Pat said, that a majority of the NGBs are small and they don't have the resources to be able to handle dozens, hundreds, thousands of emotional and physical abuse misconduct cases. And what we know is that the numbers of reports are going up. They will continue to go up. And if they're not ready right now to handle those cases, if those numbers, if history shows us anything, if those numbers, double or triple over the next several years, I think we could be in a very similar situation. So I think it's part of the solution. But I do think that there are more things that need to be done, including efficiencies in investigations, proper funding that could really help support that so that we don't have people who are waiting for resolution, particularly on the emotional and physical abuse side.
If the Congress, one of the recommendations of the commission is more federal dollars, more than the 10 million that was appropriated. I'm also an appropriator that deals with this number. If that money was available, how would it change the outcome of your work?
Money doesn't solve everything. I'm aware of that. I am forever grateful as a center is that we were able to get funding through the Empowering Olympic and Paralympic Amateur Athletes Act was passed in 2020, and that really helped the organization become what it is today. If we think back to 2019, when we were struggling and negotiating for funding, it was not a great place for the center, and the backlog was tremendous. And so similar to 2020, I would expect 2024, if additional funding came in 2024 or 2025, that funding would not only go towards increasing investigators, so we have more people to actually handle these cases, but also make significant investments in technology so that we can start to streamline more and have more efficiencies throughout the entire process.
Mr. Chairman, this is my last question. So the thing that stood out to me and then that stays with me from the investigation and the results of our efforts a number of years ago was the question by traumatized athletes and who are victims. And their question was, why was there more than one? Why was there more than one athlete that was sexually abused? And we need reporting, we need response, law enforcement. Time and time again, these ladies were failed by a system that should have protected them and it didn't. I just want to know, and I don't know that any of you are the people that can answer this question, but I want to know for my own well-being and understanding and what responsibilities we have here on this committee, is there anything out there that we ought to be aware of that is worthy of further investigation? Anything, let me put the question this way. Part of what we want to do is prevent. In fact, rather than investigate cases, we want to prevent cases. Is there anything that this Congress, this committee should be doing that would prevent additional, so there's not one more?
Can I answer that? I think there's a lot of things that can happen, right? I think we'll all agree that what happened in gymnastics, what has happened in other sports is one too many. And it is certainly what keeps me, my team, I'm sure many people on this panel up at night. And we know that throwing more investigators at a problem after the fact is only helping to solve one part of the problem. At the end of the day, what we want is prevention. We don't want to have to do this in the first place. And so I think what we have done so far, and there has been great strides and great progress made, but what we have done so far is set a baseline for what is acceptable and what is not within the Olympic and Paralympic movement. We've required education, we've required policy, we required adults who work with children to understand and recognize and report rules. And if that was extended to others throughout youth sport, because there is a considerable amount of overlap and people who jump from Olympic sport to NCAA to youth, to local youth sports organizations, to a local high school. If that was in some way streamlined, if they also had the requirement to at least check the centralized disciplinary database to make sure that who they were putting in front of their youth weren't barred or suspended from the Center for SafeSport, that could be one piece. If those people were required to take prevention education that was quality, that really focused on prevention annually, year after year, that would also help. So I think there are a lot of things that we can do collectively that would really help to stem and curb abuse, because all of us in this room, wherever you're sitting, we don't want to have hearings like this. We don't want to have conversations like this because we don't want to have to be in this situation in the first place.
We had hoped that what you just described would have been accomplished by now. Thank you.